Hello friends. So in this video we will be covering the revision of peer review and quality review. As we all know, for May 23 exams, this chapter has been amended, and as you can see from the amendment document issued by ICAI, there are many amendments in peer review. As you can see, the definition of peer review itself has been changed, and a few things here and there have also been changed. So we will be going to cover this amendment document as well as in connection with peer review chapter. So let's start with the peer review chapter first. So this is all we are going to cover: objective, scope, applicability, PERB, peer review process, scope and functions, selection of audit firms, quality review board, quality review process, reporting and the procedures and checklists. These are the main things which we will be covering in this revision video. Although it's a revision, so I'm not going to cover the extra text which is mentioned in it. However, we will be covering the examples. So the gist of these examples I'm going to tell is that basically peer review is done to keep a check on the quality of the services being provided by a firm of chartered accountants per se to the audit clients. So for example, if a firm is auditing the books of the financial statements of Reliance Industries Limited, so the government, the ICAI, or you can say the peer review board, wants that whether the functions performed by that audit firm while doing the audit of the financial statements of Reliance Limited are being quality, or are they following the technical professional standards like the standards of auditing, and whether they are auditing as per the accounting standards, Indian accounting standards, or whatever standards that are applicable. So to check all this, they have set up a concept of peer review which checks how these systems and procedures are kept in place in the firm to provide quality of services. So without any delay, let's come down to the definition of peer review. So let me intimate to you that there has been a change in the definition of peer review. So what peer review actually means, if we go by the definition, peer review means the examination and review. Examination and review of the systems and procedures to determine whether the same have been put in place by the practicing unit. So what do you mean practicing unit? Practicing unit simply indicates the audit firm who is doing the audit of some listed clients or whatever, or you can say the unit or the firm of which the peer review is being done. So peer review means an examination and review. So the basic keywords are simply the examination and review. The examination and review of the systems and procedures to determine whether the same have been put in place. So these are the keywords: have been put in place by the practicing unit for ensuring. So basic, they have to ensure the quality of assurance services as envisaged by the technical, professional, ethical standards. Now there has been a change. In addition to technical, professional, ethical standards, there has been an addition of including the audit quality maturity module wherever applicable, and any other regulatory requirements as may be prescribed by the council or any committee, which we can see from the document here. See, here it is. The technical, professional, ethical standards as applicable, including other regulatory requirements, is substituted to technical, professional, ethical standards, including the audit quality maturity model wherever applicable, and other regulatory requirements as will be prescribed by council and committee from time to time. So this is the change in the definition. You can note it down, or you can refer this amendment document separately as per your liking. So this is the basic definition of peer review. Now, since we have covered this definition of peer review, there's another definition which we need to cover, and that definition is important. We search for new unit. I think that yeah, maybe it's covered in practicing unit as well. Okay, I think it is covered. So let me tell you what new unit is. New unit is also an amendment. What's that amendment? New unit is also an amendment. Yeah, here is it. So what is the definition of new unit? So new unit is simply means a firm who's established. So there are two types of new units, which a new unit means a firm which has been established with for less than 12 months, which means अभी उसको 12 महीने नहीं हुए हैं established हुए, and one unit and another unit is which is established for a period of more than 12 months. 12 months is ज़्यादा के लिए established है, but it has not rendered any assurance services during the set period, for a practicing unit in existence for a period exceeding but not rendering any assurance services. So basically, new unit, as you can see, means a firm whose date of establishment is less than 12 months immediately preceding the date of receipt of application of peer review, and which may or may not have. So it's अगर 12 महीने से कम है तो अगर वो assurance services देगी भी, it's still not going to be counted under the term, under the purview of peer review, under the umbrella of peer review. However, if a practicing unit is in existence for a period exceeding 12 months, but if it is engaged, and if it is existing for a period exceeding 12 months, but if it is not rendering any assurance services, then it will also be classified as a new unit. Okay, and another more definition is inserted. Branch peer reviewer. This branch peer reviewer means a person or a reviewer appointed to conduct the peer review of a branch or practicing unit. The qualifications and obligations we'll discuss later. These are the same as the peer reviewer. So simply basic like a branch auditor. This is the branch peer reviewer. Okay, so let's jump to the chapter again. Let's move on to the objectives. Yeah, so what are the objectives? So the basic objectives of peer review are, so you can extract this from the definition itself. Basic objectives of peer review are to comply with the technical, professional, ethical standards. First one. Then another one. In addition to technical, professional, ethical standards, you have to do a compliance with the directions and guidelines issued by maybe yeah, here. Right, let's cover it from here. It's perfectly fine. Okay, right. So basically, there's a series in which you can learn these points. I'm going to cover them in a series, not in the way, but in the sequence which is mentioned in the module. So first, we have to comply with the technical, ethical, and professional standards, TP standards. Another two more compliance points are point number 5 and point number 6. So point number 5 and 6 deals with the compliance with the directions and guidelines which are issued by the council. One is issued to members, including fees charged, number of assignments, attendance register, and assurance engagements conducted during the year. And the next one, compliance of directions and regulations issued by the council. So these directions are also issued by the council relating to the work of article assistants or audit assistants. So you have to remember that one directions and guidelines are regarding the members, and the another one is regarding the article assistants and the audit assistants, including attendance register, work diaries, stipend payments, or the such related records. So after this compliance, what will be there? There will be quality of reporting, right? And after quality of reporting, who is gonna perform these compliances of technical, professional, ethical standards? Your staff, your article assistants, your audit assistants. So you need to provide training programs for staff, including article assistants, concerned with assurance functions, including availability of appropriate infrastructure. So you have to make sure that there is proper appropriate infrastructure for training and development of your staffs and article audit assistants for assurance functions. And lastly, basically, it is with technical, professional, ethical standards, systems and procedures for carrying out of assurance services. Now, another point which is to be added is the compliance with the audit quality maturity module. So, I think, yep. So, and accordingly, self-evaluation under the audit quality maturity module and other guidelines issued by the Center for Audit Quality. So, you can combine this point after the compliance with technical, professional, ethical standards. You can also, self-evaluation as per the audit quality maturity module or any other guideline issued by council for audit quality. You can also improve that point in this. There are more 7 points. So basically, this compliance systems and procedures make go hand in hand. The new point which you have to remember is the self-evaluation through audit quality maturity module. Then we have the compliance and directions and guidelines, and training program and quality. Overall, we will achieve the quality of reporting by following all these points. So these are the scope of peer review. So the scope of peer review and objectives of peer review are somehow same. So the objective is simply to comply with the technical, professional, ethical standards and have in place proper systems to so this one thing you have proper systems, including documentation thereof, to amply demonstrate the quality of assurance services. So you have to properly document your systems and procedures, what you are following in your organization, so that there is a basic document so that you can demonstrate that you are maintaining the quality, or through which the peer reviewers can check like, yes, the practicing unit is maintaining quality. And the basic objective of the peer review is not to identify the deficiencies or report the deficiencies to the authorities. It's just basically done to provide suggestions to the audit firm, to the practicing unit, to improve this quality services rendered by the members of the profession, of the quality of the profession as a whole. Now there's an example. Absence of formal planning of an audit represents a serious deficiency that needs to be remedied by the practice unit. An instance of the auditor not carrying out physical verification of furniture. However, certain items of assets are best verified through physical verification process, and not adopting the same procedures may rightly be viewed as a systematic failure. So basically, the absence of formal planning of procedures is basically a deficiency which was identified. So yeah, they're suggesting that certain items of assets are best verified through physical verification. All right, so this is scope. Yeah, there's one more thing. As it is clear on the above, the statement of peer review aims to confine the scope of review to preceding 3 years. So all of this peer review is going to be done for the preceding 3 years, since it would establish consistency or deviations, if any, in respect of procedures followed by the practicing unit. So this is a point. There can be an MCQ question over here about regarding the let me first. Okay, all right. Regarding the scope of peer review, like the aims to confine the scope of peer review to preceding 3 years. In simple words, peer review can be done only for preceding 3 years. Okay, all right. Yeah, this is also an important question. Like, what are technical, professional, and ethical standards? So basically, what are technical, professional, ethical standards? It's a very simple question. You just need to have a knowledge. You just need to break the points into one or two. So basically, technical, professional, ethical standards includes accounting standards, Indian accounting standards, standards on auditing, SREs, SAEs, assurance services, quality services, non-assurance services standards. उसके बाद आपका section 133 of the Companies Act 2013. This requires a separate mention. And another one is your framework for preparation and presentation of financial statements, which is equivalent to Schedule 3. And lastly, any other technical, professional, and ethical standards issued by the authority governing the professionals of CA. And also any provisions or relevant standards, statutes, or regulatory guidelines issued. So this point you can see from here. This one. Provisions of relevant statutes or rules, regulations which are applicable in the context of specific engagements being reviewed, including instructions, guidelines, notifications, directions issued by regulatory bodies as covered in the scope of assurance engagement. So this is a very simple question, very easy question. Like, what are technical, professional, ethical standards? You can simply say accounting standards issued by ICAI accounting standards as recommended, as mentioned in section 133 of the Companies Act 2013, issued by central government in consultation, recommended by ICAI in consultation with FRA, and Indian accounting standards prescribed under section 133 of the Companies Act by the central government on the recommendations of ICAI in consultation with FRA. Then we have the standards on auditing, engagement and quality control standards, statements, guidance notes, standards on internal auditing, guidance notifications, and framework for preparation, presentation of financial statements, preface, auditing review, other assurance filter services, framework for assurance engagements, and provisions for the relevant statutes or rules and regulations which are applicable to the entities in the context of specific engagements. And yeah, let's see any other. Yeah, here's a technical professional ethical standards issue. This is the additional point, which is right. Any other technical, professional, ethical standards issued by the authority governing the profession of chartered accountants. So this is another point which you can learn, and it's pretty simple because you just have to read like any other technical, professional, ethical standards issued by any authority governing the profession of chartered accountants. This is a very simple thing. Okay, another thing which can come into students' mind is what are assurance engagements, because this whole peer review is applicable for assurance engagements only. So what are assurance engagements? So instead of covering what are assurance engagement, the institute is about what are not assurance engagements. So this is basically I have categorized it into parts. So basically, first part relates to the tax representations, second part relates to financial statements, and third part relates to experts, and last is any other services rendered by or functions performed by practitioner. which you can see from, I think this is also an amendment, and yes, this is also an amendment. Any other services rendered or function performed by practitioner not prescribed by the council to be assurance engagement. So basically they have increased the scope of this. All right. So what are these? So for the one point which is different is management consultancy engagements, the MCE services. These are not assurance services. The second one comes to representations made from taxation authorities, engagements to private tax returns, or providing advice on taxation matters. These are points covered through tax. Then we have financial statements. So preparation and compilation of financial statements, then preparation, compilation, or pollution of information other than the financial statements. We have testifying. Testifying is an expert witness or providing expert opinion. Uh, expert opinion for points of principle, point to be noted, points of principle such as accounting standards or applicability of certain laws on the basis of facts provided by the client, and lastly due diligence. So you can combine this management consultancy engagements and due diligence. So this is an important question. The what are technical professional ethical standards is also an important question. Then the scope of peer review is also an important question. So because ICAI has explicitly marked these points in a box, in a colorful box, then in bold, because these points have amendments. Then you have not assurance engagement. This is also in a box. So any points which the institute marks in boxes is an important point. Are important questions. So now we have practicing units subject to review. So now this is related to the applicability of the peer review. So let me explain to you what is the applicability of peer review. So first question should come to mind: is peer review mandatory? Yes, peer review can be mandatory. Although it is not, but it can be mandatory for some practicing units if the central government, if the council decides that these practicing they are providing such assurance services, the peer review should be mandatory. And if can it be voluntary? Yes, it is also voluntary. It can also be voluntary if a practicing unit so wants to apply to the board for conduct of peer review. It can. It can absolutely. In special cases, for special cases, I should say, specific information received by the board. If a board receives some specific information from secretary or ICAI or some disciplinary directorate or other regulator, which in the opinion of the board actually requires a special peer review by a practicing unit. Sorry, of a practicing unit. If such information received from a secretary, ICAI, or directorate, or any other regulator, and that information is in the opinion of the board and information with specific nature that indicates there should be a special peer review of that particular practicing unit. The council may wholeheartedly conduct the special peer review for such practicing unit for such period as prescribed by the board. Now, peer review. So there is a point for these are some things level 1 and level 2 practicing units. This you can read. This is not that much important. Yeah, because this has been amended, and the amendment portion. Let me walk you through the amendment portion. Yeah, this is the amendment portion. The whole para 4 applicability of 17.7 stands substituted. So this whole para is deleted. So you don't have to read this para, because otherwise you'd have to read all these points which are not relevant. The whole para has been amended, has been substituted by this thing. So let's cover the points from here. So yeah, earlier practice was 1, 2, 3. So this is not now. Now this has been replaced. Peer review with peer review mandate implementation. So there is now a mandatory implementation as per clause 5. Okay, alright. So there's a mandatory peer review can be mandatory for such practice units as may be decided by the council. What I told earlier, and voluntary. Any practice unit may sumo to apply to the board for conduct of its peer review, and special cases if any information is received by the board of the practice unit may conduct a special peer review of practice unit for such period as may be determined by the board. Now, this is you can read itself, not that much important. Accordingly, the peer review mandate operative from April 1, 2022 has been made in the following 4 stages. So instead of 4 phases which describe the types of entities, this has been amended as phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. So phase 1 and phase 2 are most important ones. Phase 3 and phase 4 because these will be at this will be applicable in April 24, April 25. So maybe ICAI is going to ask questions on, you know, applicability of peer review to entities which are recent, like 2022, 2023. So yeah, so practicing units which propose to undertake statutory audit of enterprises whose equity or debt securities are listed in India. So basically, this is for listed and practicing unit which provides assurance services to listed entities. They shall have to mandatory conduct a peer review of themselves from 1st of April 2020. Another one is practicing units which propose to undertake statutory audit of unlisted public companies. So this is regarding the unlisted public companies having a paid up share capital of not less than 500 crores. Okay, so the paid up share capital is not less, you can say less than or equal to 500 crores, and the annual turnover is not less than 1000 crores. This is 500,000, and the aggregate outstanding loans, debentures, and deposits is NDD of not less than 500 crores. So it's basically same as the NFRA applicability. If you remember the NFRA applicability, this is the same as that. Sorry. So if you have paid up capital, not paid up capital, less than or equal to 500, turnover less than or equal to 1000, and outstanding loans, debentures, and deposits less than or equal to 500 crores. As on, this is the most important thing, as on 31st March of the immediately preceding financial year, not current financial year, preceding financial year, or there is an option, either this one or practice units rendering attestation services and having 5 or more partners. Okay, 5 or more partners. For these practice units, there is a prerequisite of having peer review certificate before accepting the statutory audit. So if your practicing unit has 5 or more partners, then these practice units shall have to have a prerequisite of obtaining a peer review certificate before accepting the statutory audit. All right, so this was regarding the applicability. So some points to note. This you can read by yourself, like which you propose to banks, financial institutions, etc. From 1st April 2024, and which propose to take public sector banks for these practice, or 3 or more partners, prerequisite mandatory from 1st April 2025. So if a practicing unit already has a peer review certificate, it does not valid peer review certificate. It does not need to again conduct a peer review itself. For example, if that entity was subjected to peer review in 2022, it does not, and it is again subjected to peer review in 20. As per this amendment, it does not need to have, it does not need to conduct its peer review again. It can hold that peer review certificate till its validity. However, those who were not covered earlier are now covered under this amendment. They have to get their peer review, get them peer reviewed, get themselves peer reviewed. All right. So let's jump to peer review board. So what is the peer review board? This is also amended. Not sure how many amendments are there. Okay. Yeah, here it is. So insertion of minimum 6 members requirement in para 5 peer review board, which should be read as under. The board shall consist of minimum 6 members and a maximum of 12 members to be appointed by the council, of whom not less than 50% shall be from ICAI, shall be the members of ICAI. So in this case, this was not mentioned earlier. This, minimum 6 members thing. However, this has been included, and now the council may nominate. Okay, this 50% limit was also there. It only shall consist of maximum 12 members instead of minimum 6 members and a maximum of 12 members. Now it has minimum 6 members and maximum 12 members, of whom not less than 50% shall be the members of ICAI. Then, okay, outside bodies, high integrity reputation. The vice chairman and the chairman of council may be rotated every year. These can be from, other fields as well. Then we have the most important thing: 2/3 of the members shall be for 3 years or end of the terms. This is basically the term of 2/3 of members shall be 3 years, or their term, whichever is shorter. So if a member has a term of 5 years, okay, has a member of 5 years, and in council, and in the peer review board, it has a mandatory term of 3 years. So now it has only left, the term in council is only, to be precise, it wants to say, if a member if a member has a term in its council, uh, say 2 years or 3 years itself, and it is shorter than the mandatory period in the peer review board of 3 years, two-third members, so that period will be the shorter among the two. So if two-third member, 3 years, or the council term, whichever is shorter, to be exact. Now, casual vacancy shall be filled by the council. Okay, and the member of disciplinary board and committee shall not be the member of, the member of disciplinary committee or the disciplinary board of the Institute of ICI, of the ICI of India, ICI shall not be the member of the board. Then you have the meeting requirement shall be as per every calendar quarter year. The board shall meet and required every calendar quarter year. Reporting shall report to the council prior to the date of the meeting of the council. So this is the basic thing. This is an amended portion. So this is a important topic for the exams. So the peer review board. Now another thing is the eligibility of a peer reviewer. This is also amended. Let me show you how it has been amended. In point 1, 7 years of audit experience to be read as 7 years of assurance practice experience. So earlier it was 7 years of audit experience. Now it has been substituted as 7 years of assurance practice experience. As you can see here, it is mentioned here at least 7 years of audit experience. So basically, if a member is in practice, it shall have at least 7 years of assurance practice engagement experience. And if the member has moved from industry to practice and is currently in practice, he should have at least 10 years of experience in the industry and 3 years of experience in the, yes, you are right, so so in the amendment, there is no such mention of here as the years of assurance practice engagement. This is only the audit experience. Okay, so point to be noted. Okay, so 10 years of audit experience in industry and at least 3 years of audit experience in practice. And he should not have undergone, he should have undergone requisite training and cleared requisite tests for peer reviews prescribed by the board. So there might be some tests for training which is required to be cleared by the person who's going to be a peer reviewer. So he has to undergo the requisite training and clear the requisite test for peer review as prescribed by the board. Okay. If I okay. Now this is important thing. A member on being appointed as a peer reviewer shall be required to furnish. It has to require two declaration. First declaration is regarding the time of empanelment. Now, as you can see, this has also been amended. This has also been amended. Yes, unless word to be read is except and last para to be read is a declaration of confidentiality shall be signed by all members of the board and the board secretary. Okay. So declaration of confidentiality shall be signed by all members of the board and the board secretariat, not just the peer review, but whole the board and its secretariat. And a declaration is prescribed by the board at the time of empanelment of the peer review. Okay. Then a person who shall not be a member, a reviewer of practice. This is same as Section 8. Section 8 of the Chartered Accountants Act 1949. If you read this carefully, like against whom any disciplinary or proceeding action is pending, found guilty of professional or other misconduct by board or disciplinary committee, he has been convicted by a competent court, whether within or outside India. His partners have any obligation or conflict of interest in the practice. These 2 points only. Has any obligation or conflict of interest in the practicing unit. He has undergone training or articleship under any of the partner of practicing unit. So these points need to be learned. So to be honest, this is an important portion and this has to be learned. These are the points which I feel I will learn, and I feel you should also learn these points. So the peer review shall not be eligible person shall not be a member shall not be eligible to become a peer reviewer if any disciplinary proceeding or action is pending against him. He has been convicted by a competent court for a moral turpitude or outside India, within India or outside India, and he has been found guilty of professional or other misconduct by the disciplinary committee or a board, council or board, and he or his partner have the obligation or conflict of interest with the practicing units. Maybe there are some connections with the practicing units which generate the conflict of interest, and he if he has undergone any training or articleship under the partner of the practicing unit, he shall not be eligible to be a peer reviewer of that practicing unit. एंड आगे के 2 साल और पीछे के 2 साल कोई रिलेशनशिप नहीं होना चाहिए. So a reviewer should not accept any professional assignment from the practicing unit for a period of next 2 years from the date of appointment. Further, he should not have accepted any professional assignment from the practicing unit prior the 2 years prior in the prior 2 years of the appointment. So this is something which is good thing. This is a very good point. This can be asked in an MCQ. You can note this point down. Then we have qualified assistant. So qualified assistant is like Chotu. Apna Chotu jo kaam karega. However, he is not a Chotu. He is also chartered accountant with no disqualifications under Section 8 of the Chartered Accountants Act 1949. Okay, so he is not a Chotu. I'm sorry for my words. He's not a Chotu. Then name initiated by board and practicing unit by before peer review. His name should be communicated to the practicing board and practicing unit before the peer review, and he should also sign a declaration of confidentiality and shall have no direct interface with either the practicing unit or the board. He shall only report to the peer reviewer and should be from the firm of the reviewer as a partner or a paid assistant as per the records of the ICAI. All right. Okay, so this is basically all personal characterized as a okay, so this is basically about confidentiality. You can read this portion. Okay, non-compliance with secrecy provisions in the above clause shall amount to professional misconduct as defined in Section 22 of the Chartered Accountants Act 1949. So no secrecy provisions. You have to keep these things secret. Secrecy provisions. Okay, secrecy provisions. All right. We have done this. We have completed around 11 pages. All right. We are now on the verge of completing this chapter. And how many amendments are left? The amendments are there in procedure. Okay, here's the procedure. All right. So the amendments are the report, issuance of peer review certificate, validity. All right. So this whole part is the main part. So for the approach of peer review, it's very simple. I'll tell you, a sequence of reading these points and learning these points. So the first point is whenever you are given the opportunity to peer review, so what will be the first thing you will do? Suppose you are going to audit, you are going to review the assurance engagement of a person. Let's say audit of a person, how that firm, how that practicing unit has conducted the audit. So what is the first thing you're going to check? Technically, and you will check the engagement letter. You have to gain the understanding of the engagement letter and determine what was the scope of the assurance engagement at that point of time. What was the scope and the nature of the audit engagement? The second thing, when you have identified that this was an assurance engagement, so then you will identify how many assurance engagements are being done and and which assurance engagements you are going to select out of the total assurance engagements performed by the practicing unit. So this requires your professional judgment, and based on the replies the questionnaire and the size of the practicing unit. So the number of first we have to gain an understanding of the engagement letter to identify the scope and nature of the assurance engagements, and the number of assurance engagements to be selected. Okay, requires professional judgment based on the replies given by the practicing unit in the questionnaire for the size of the practicing unit. After that, when you have selected the assurance engagement, you have gained the understanding of the engagement factor, you will move on to what? You will move on to identify this whether this policies and procedures for accepting a particular engagement are in place, are correct, are as per SA 220 or SQC1. If yes, move forward. And there you will improve quality. You will suggest some measures to like SECI. Okay. So you may have policies and procedures for accepting particular engagement. You have to check compliance with such policies and procedures. After that, when you've done all these three things, you will, just like what an auditor does, you will have to apply a combination of substantive as well as compliance procedures throughout the process. Yes, you will check their controls, you will check their good quality policies, the quality assurance modules, audit quality maturity module, whether it is being applied the way it is to be applied. And lastly, you will evaluate the records considering whether any significant issues were identified during assurance engagements and how they were resolved, how they were addressed, and whether they have been documented or not, any evidence and reasonableness of conclusion, whether the evidences which were obtained by the practice unit and the conclusions which they have represented or reported in the audit report are consistent with each other. And lastly, any significant decisions which require professional judgment, resolution of significant matters have been documented or not. This is basically the approach of a peer review. This is a very good question. This is also present in your TYK questions at the last. Alright, then we have obligations of practicing on it. So this you can read by yourself. These are simple points. Now the peer review process. This poll has been amended. And okay, so let's see. Okay. So for procedure for peer review, like peer review process. So for this, I have prepared a timeline sort of thing so that we can review peer review process procedure through these timelines, because there are certain days which we need to remember that in how many days and what is to be done. Okay, so let's start with it. First thing to note is that there is a speeding timeline to complete the whole peer review process. So for normal firms which are not new units, it is 20 working days, and for new units, it is 7 working days. So leave that. Let me. All right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So it's 20 working days for basic normal unit, and for a new unit, it is 7 working days. Let's start. So the application for peer review shall be given in form ECQ1, which is audit come questionnaire. It is not even audit. It's actually application come questionnaire, which is to be filed in form 1, which is ACQ1 to be exact. ACQ1 the peer review. So it's actually the practicing unit which has to file an application in form ECQ1 to the peer review board. On receipt of the application by the peer review board, the peer review board shall within 3 days, recommend 3 reviewers. So within 3 days, recommend 3 reviewers. So it has to recommend the name of 3 reviewers. After that name recommendation, the practicing unit shall select 1 reviewer within 1 day. So it's actually you can point out the chronology, like 3 days for 3 names and 1 day for selection of 1 reviewer. So the audit, on receipt of application by peer review board, it shall within 3 days recommend the name of 3 reviewers, and the practicing unit shall within 1 day select one peer reviewer from the 3 reviewers. Then on selection, within 2 days, peer review board to intimate reviewer to submit the document. Submit document. So basically, when within 1 day, the practice unit has to intimate the peer review board that it has selected that particular name of the peer review from which it will get its peer review done. It is the responsibility of the peer review board to intimate the reviewer, within 2 days of the receipt of the name, to allow the peer reviewer to submit some documents, basic documents. Now, after those documents, within 2 days, PU to provide ACQ to peer reviewer. So the ACQ, so this ACQ, audit from questionnaire, application from questionnaire form, which was submitted to the peer review board, the practicing unit shall also provide this ACQ to the peer reviewer within 2 days of intimation by peer review board of the peer reviewer. Then after this provision, then on the receipt of ACQ, it is the responsibility of the peer reviewer to intimate the practicing unit of the proposed samples and proposed visit in Form 5. So it is the responsibility of the peer reviewer after the receipt of ACQ that it shall intimate the practicing unit of its proposed samples. So the samples which he is going to select from the number of assurance engagement that he's going to select to do the work, and the proposed visit, if any, in Form 5. After this, if the reviewer wants any further clarification, it can ask for further clarification in Form 6 within 1 day of intimation in Form 5. After further clarification, within 2 days, the reviewer to select assurance engagements to be reviewed. So after further clarifications, info from PU after receipt of information from practicing unit, it shall so the peer reviewer shall within 2 days select the assurance engagements which are to be reviewed by him, and within the 2 days he shall do an on-site review. Okay, after the receipt of after intimation, he shall do an on-site review. So this was the basic procedure for peer review process or procedure. Okay, so let's give it a read from the from the amendment document. So as you can see, it is divided into procedure for initiating peer review and procedure to be followed by the peer reviewer. So it is broken down into 2 parts. In this timeline, I have combined both of them. I have combined both the procedures into one timeline so that it is easier to remember the things. On the other hand, you can separate the peer review procedure to be followed by practicing unit and the peer review board in the first part, and by the peer reviewer in the second part. You can give it a full-fledged read if you want, so that you have the text language which you can cover. So let me go through all of these points so that there's a revision of it. So procedure for initiating peer review. Practicing units which decide to get peer review shall make an application and ACQ Form 1 covered. Then in case peer review initiated by board, the application question Form 1 should be submitted to practicing unit on the peer review on the request by peer review board secretary. So if the practicing unit wants to sumo to get it reviewed, it shall file the ACQ Form 1 sumo to. But if the peer review is initiated by the board, the application is still to be filed by practicing unit, but only on the request of peer review board secretary. Then the application mentioned in clause 6 and 2 have been received by the board to be duly numbered. Okay, this is something extra. Okay. On receipt of the application, on receipt of the ECQ, 3 reviewers shall be recommended by the board within 3 working days. So 3 reviewers within 3 working days. Practice unit shall select 1 out of the 3 recommended reviewers and intimate the board within 1 working day. So 1 reviewer within 1 working day. The board shall appoint the peer reviewer selected by the PU in accordance with the guidelines. The board shall intimate the peer reviewer so selected declaration of confidentiality to the practice unit within 2 working days. So she shall intimate the peer reviewer and submit a declaration of confidentiality in Form 2 to the practice unit within 2 working days from the receipt of choice of the name. Okay, all right, which was actually let me show you. Yeah, this is the point. Yeah, peer review board to intimate to submit documents. So 2 days, and which document is to be submitted? Confidentiality document, right? The practice unit shall also provide a copy of ECQ to Form 1 within 2 working days. So now the practice unit shall provide the ECQ to the peer reviewer within 2 working days. peer review procedure to be followed by the peer reviewer. Before commencement of peer reviewer shall ensure that the declaration of confidentiality is furnished by the practicing unit and acknowledgement of receipt is thereof obtained by him. So basically, here a confidentiality document is to be submitted by the peer reviewer, and it is the duty of the peer reviewer to make sure that it has been furnished to the practicing unit, and the practicing unit has provided him the receipt of such confidentiality document. And then on receiving the ECQ, the peer reviewer shall initiate the peer review by intimating the practicing unit the proposed visit and the proposed samples selected to be kept ready. All right, in Form 5. Then the peer reviewer may seek further clarifications or additional information in Form 6 within one working day. After that, reviewer shall, within 2 working days of receiving information, intimate the same to the practicing unit and the peer review board in Form 5. Shall intimate the same to the peer review board and the practicing unit, and the reviewer shall plan an on-site review at least 2 working days to keep ready necessary records. Mutually cooperate, right? Okay. The peer review unit mutually cooperate. Okay. The word 7 working days should be substituted with 6 working days, so it is for new unit, and for the normal units it is 30 working days. This is something you can read by yourself, or this is not that much of an importance. Then we have, okay, now coming down to next topic, selection of practice unit appointment. This has been done. Planning, okay, this has also been done. Right, peer review procedure to be followed. Execution, right? Execution you can read from here. On-site review, 7 working days, but also amended. All right, so compliance review. So it has to be done in 2 parts: compliance review and selection of assurance service engagements for review. So it's basically you can read and understand these points to be so for the compliance review general controls. So these are the points which are common, which you can also mention in your risk assessment and internal control chapter. So these points are simply these are independent COPs. So there's a technique for this: independent COPs. So independence, then C is for, what is C is for? Outside consultation. O is for office administration. Okay. P is for maintenance of professional skills and standards, and S is for staff recruitment, supervision, and development. So independent COPs. COPs means police COPs. So independence. C is for outside consultation. O is for office administration. Then P is for maintenance of professional skepticism, professional skills and standards, and lastly staff recruitment, supervision, and development. Then after that we have selection of assurance service engagements for the review. This is basically the question which was asked in January 21. So this has some importance. Let's read this. Okay. This is very simple and it does not have any further. Okay. So since we have covered till the peer review procedure part, we will cover the execution part and the reporting and other areas in the next part of the video. So stay tuned to the channel. Do remember to subscribe to the channel so that you can get the next part easily and you can prepare for your exams correctly. So yeah, I hope this video helped you, and I'll make sure that I will be uploading such kind of videos regularly. All the best.